look taller.
Yes. All right. So we got Veronica Hardy over here. So you just came into London today, or like Tuesday. And have you been settling in? Have you been you've been training in New York for a little bit?
Yeah.
And how's that been? Like, what led to the decision to do that?
Well, I finished my last 2 camps in New York, and I really loved it. I loved the training, the way they approach it, the way that, the techniques are taught, but also the concepts of why you're doing things and the way to adjust it to have a higher percentage rate. I find sometimes people are very close to the submissions, or they're very close to having a position, but it's just these tiny little details that gives the person the space to kind of escape or to create a scramble or something difficult. Details. Yeah, so I really love the way they teach there. They have a lot of females that I can train with, and I've just developed a really nice relationship. Plus, being in New York is pretty awesome.
It is awesome, isn't it?
So it's like a nice way to enjoy training, but also life, because so much of my life is taken up by MMA.
Yeah, there's a lot I want to ask you, because like the last time we did this interview, you had just won on your UFC return. And like you explained like everything you've been through as far as like recovery and all that, and also like maybe you still had some doubts about like where you are skill wise, because you look great in that fight, and since then you've had like 2 more wins, I think, and look great again. Like, do you feel differently about yourself now than you did like before you returned to the UFC? Before the Miller fight.
I wish I could say no, because I don't want the view of myself to be based on if I win or lose a fight. I feel like that's not a very healthy way of thinking.
As an athlete, no,
as a person. As a person and as an athlete, right? It's like it's so they kind of mash in together, because so much, like I said, so much of my life is revolved around MMA. So then, if you have a competition once every 4 to 6 months, it's kind of like that's how you feel about yourself for the rest of it. I do feel like things are changing. But, like, the training makes sense now. It didn't used to, and it used to feel a lot more chaotic and a lot more out of my control. And now things are just they're so streamlined to my nutrition, to my training, to my approach, to everything, that it's really given me confidence to see it not only in my mind make sense, but also in fights start to showcase. And I hope I'm showing improvements, because that's kind of the goal, Just get better.
Do you feel like because you made like you have more assessments now that you can make based on like those fights, that which little things to tweak?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, and I'm starting to see them more, even in training. There's some things that I'll do, and in my head I'm like, oh, don't do that, because this will happen and this will happen. Whereas before it was a little bit, it was more chaotic, to where I couldn't recognize these things. So that's something that I'm quite happy about. Maybe not about the constant mistakes, but at least I can see them now.
At least you see them. But I mean, like, it's very important to be self-critical. Again, like that's what made those changes. And what you did mention just now is a real thing, though. Like, there's a lot of fighters that just tie their whole identity into fighting and stuff like that. So, what do you sort of do to try to separate yourself from that?
I think a big thing that has helped me is living in the UK, just living somewhere and having a home, and realizing that is sport.
Okay, yeah.
As much as I love it, it is not who I am. Like, I am a martial artist. I'm not somebody I'm not the result of a fight. And that's been hard, especially because I was moving from place to place, and it was just all like UFC is this, and I didn't have the appropriate training to even think that way.
For sure.
So now I feel like that I live somewhere, that I have like Dan's family around me, friends and people that I can train, and just a little bit separate from things. It feels less like my worth depends on.
That's good. Is it because maybe also like location wise it's just so far from the other places that you're fighting? Well, actually you did the UK ones as well. so I guess that doesn't make sense. But
no, I've always done like weird locations. Just because before I wasn't fighting in America, so it was just like all the locations that I had were just strange locations. Not necessarily strange, but not ones where I was training.
Yeah, okay. And you also do other, like, you do a lot of other things outside of that, and you're doing the commentary of the YouTube channel and all that. So, like, is that important for that as well? Like, does that sort of also aid in separating yourself from that, the outcome of a fight or something? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it still is MMA, right? The things like the commentating, the YouTube, everything, it's still MMA focused, but it helps me, well, first analyze other fighters and see things other than myself, right? I feel like sometimes, or for me personally in the past, it was just what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing this, and you gotta get this like block in your brain in the way that you approach the fight. But seeing other people, you can see, even if you see something that they do that you consider a mistake, you can see yourself making that and understand it better. Yeah. Because it's like, I have this happen to me all the time. Like, a lot of times Dan will coach me something, and I'll hear it. I understand what he's saying, but I don't fully understand it. Mm-hmm. And then I see, and I'm watching a fight, and I'm like, oh, that's what he means. In that position. So it's all kind of tying into one and helping me improve as a fighter without taking any physical damage. Mm-hmm. So I find it to be very helpful.
It sounds complicated, you know. It is. It's probably not easy, but like, did the pressure sort of fall off of you more, or does a winning streak kind of add pressure? Is what I wonder. Because obviously the first fight since your layoff, I'm sure there was a lot of pressure. You know, maybe you felt like you were fighting for your UFC career.
Yeah,
and now you're sort of, in my mind, it seems like you're safe, kind of, like, at least for a while now.
Yeah.
Do you think that way?
I feel like it's different. There's always pressure because of what it is. A UFC fight, there is always going to be pressure because of people watching or whatever. But I just feel like it's different types of pressure depending on the fight. Like the first fight back is, can I still do this after, you know, such a long time off? Not only such a long time, but such a rough start in the UFC and, you know, bad injury and all that. So it was that. And then the second fight is, can I do it again, or was that a fluke? What is that happening? The third fight is, wow, this is, you know, this is like going good. You don't want to mess it up. Yeah.
What am I doing?
Exactly. So I find it like each fight has pressure, but it's different pressure. Yeah. Depending on the situation that you're in. Right. So now the pressure is I'm fighting in New York, a place where I train a lot. It's a place where, you know, my friends are going to be there. People who help and support me in the training to become a better version of myself, and they're going to be there. You know, you don't want them to come and have a bad night because, you know, you you didn't do a good job.
And then they're like, how do we deal with this?
Like, oh, you kind of killed the mood, man. Like,
or like, what do you say to a fighter afterwards? It's always difficult because it depends on the person as well. That's a historic event every November, the MSG card. It's one that has a lot of eyeballs on it. They always stack the cards and everything. When did you get the call to be on this card? How did this end up happening?
Well, I was very annoying. Oh my God, I was so annoying, to the point where Dan was like, please stop being so annoying. I took like 8,000 photos of MSG and just kept posting
I've seen them.
Yeah, I know, right?
But I'm like, there's something here. There's messaging here. It's gonna happen, isn't it?
So it was just.
But this is before you knew.
Yeah, before I knew it.
Like,
I was like, please. I'm like, no, the card's full. Forget about it. I'm like, come on, man. I already told all my friends that they were going to come. So, and then,
that's like, that tells them there's going to be tickets sold and all that. They're like, money.
It's like 3.
Yeah. They don't have to know that.
Yeah, they check how many friends I have.
Yeah. What does it mean for you to be on that event? Because MSG is just historic, you know? You know what? I don't think I have fully digested it, and I don't think I will until after the event, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah.
Because it's so surreal that I don't think my little brain could comprehend it. That's how I feel about it. I'm very excited.
That's good. So it's all focus. It's all focus on that event. And other historic events happening this weekend, Saturday. It's the Sphere card. It's Noche UFC. Well, you have like Latin background, like roots as well. So like, were you approached for that as well? At all?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't told anything about that.
Nothing.
I didn't think I was because it's like, even though I am Hispanic, I'm Venezuelan, but there's so many great Mexican fighters that they were obviously going to prioritize them for the card, just because that's kind of the purpose of the card as well. So I didn't think I was, unless I would have been fighting.
Of, like, foreign fighters there as well.
Yeah. But unless I was fighting a Mexican, I don't think I would have been approached.
And you don't want to be like B-side. Imagine being B-side. Okay. But
it's all right.
There's like three fights on. Like, okay, which one are you looking forward to the most? First of all,
I think the Grasso fight versus Shevchenko is going to be, it's a big one. It's a trilogy. It's something that I find, in my opinion, I think Grasso is really, just owning her spot as a champion. 100%. She's growing into it. It went from, it's kind of like what we were talking about, the pressure of the fight, right? Like, after the 3 years, can you do it? Like, I find when she fought Shevchenko, it was a little bit like that she's been so dominant that there's, I think she even said in an interview, it was like, oh, one more for the wolf, like being fed one more, and then like comes out with that victory, and then the draw. So and then her team doing so well on the Tough show. It was like, I'm sure
they have to start fighting each other. The other teams don't bad when that happens.
so like, just based on that, and how she is a role model for women's MMA, I don't feel like there's many that really approach it in such a
like fill the shoes of a role model as well
as a martial artist. I don't think it's all like, she approaches it as such a disciplined martial artist that is something extremely admirable, and and for future generations, she's really paving the way for women.
And it's like, she's not knocking Shevchenko down to make herself look better or either.
She's a respectful martial artist, and I highly appreciate that.
Yeah, so what's your prediction on that one?
I think Grasso is gonna win by TKO.
Yeah,
and like later in the fight, like in the fourth round or something. I just think she studied her to a point, and maybe Shevchenko. I think because of the interviews where Shevchenko's like, oh, I just made a mistake, and it's very discrediting and not like inward looking to, and maybe she's just saying that for cameras, right? Maybe she thinks completely different. You don't really know. People put out maybe the truth, maybe what they want you to think. But it seems to be that, for me, like, Grasso's really, like I said, she's really just come into this position where I feel like she's solid.
Uber confident. It's like, I was linking back to like when Leon KO'd Usman, like, because he was getting dominated in that fight, and then had that moment, and then for some reason, like, something happened where, like, in the third fight, which is the last one, he dominated Usman, and it was like simple. It was like 4-1, I think it scored. So something happens in the mind too, like where Alexa was kind of losing that first fight and then got the submission. The second one, she was having a lot more success. Where, like, I scored it for her still. And, like, Shevchenko's like, everyone thought like I won. Like, I thought Alexa won still.
You were kind of on the ground, getting like ground and pound pretty badly.
So like, that went easier.
Yes.
Like, and so you're thinking like that third one as well is going to be even more dominant.
Yes, I believe so. They're both extremely skilled, and Shevchenko could come across and just blow out of the water, and that wouldn't really surprise me either, just because of how skilled Shevchenko is.
Of course,
but she's a bit like older, and that may play into it. I'm not sure, but I think it's going to be Grasso.
All right, and then the main event, Sean O'Malley, Merab.
You know what? This one got me thinking, because Merab keeps posting himself being injured. It's like he's cut. There was like a massive staff on his arm.
I think he posted that on purpose too. Like, it's so obvious. It's like,
is it? That's kind of like what we're saying. Like, is it how it's actually happening, or are you trying to like prank people?
He's doing a Ryan Garcia thing.
Yeah.
In a less nutty
Ryan
way.
Garcia was
in
also
a less nutty way.
True.
yeah, true.
But yeah, I just I really like the way O'Malley fights. I really like the way he feints, how he sets things up, how he confuses his opponent. Right, he'll feint to the body, won't go to the body, but have you thinking about it, and then open up a different target.
Yeah.
So those things, I find it's going to be difficult to deal with. But Merab can have that Sean Strickland approach, where he kind of goes like those little horse blinkers that doesn't see any feints and just goes, I'm going straight forward. And that can stifle O'Malley because he's a tall fighter that just picks his opponents off. But then if O'Malley works a lot of elbows as he's coming in trying to close the range, I think that would be useful. Something that I also think would be useful for Izzy, another fighter who's tall and has really good range management and feints.
It's actually a very interesting take because I never people wouldn't link the Merab style to Sean Strickland, but the pressure is kind of what does it for Sean. And then, Merab brings the pressure
and not looking at the feint, not biting so much on feints because he's not bothered.
Yeah,
he's kind of like, I just want to take you down and just exhaust you and go and go and go. And when you're doing that, and when the coaches say you're going to have to take some shots, you don't care as much about the feints. The issue is you have somebody like O'Malley who is, you can't, I find sometimes when you think I'm going to have to take a shot to get somewhere, you kind of take more shots than what you would if you didn't think that way.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're like, I'm going to take some anyway, so I'm just going to go forward. Whereas if you don't have that mentality, but you're going to take the shots anyway, you might be more defensively sound.
True. When you're accepting the fact that you're going
it's
to
I'm just going to get punched.
Whatever, let me just shoot from here.
Yeah, I just find it.
Yeah.
You might take more than you need to, even though it's the same, right? In both approaches, you're taking strikes, but in one, you're being a bit more cautious to where you won't possibly take a shot that will knock you out.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Or be more prepared to take a shot that might knock you out.
Oh, so you don't have necessarily a prediction?
I think O'Malley.
Sean, yeah. I do think Sean, but now that you mentioned what you said, I think Sean early, and then the longer it goes, it'll be Merab taking over, maybe.
Yes, unless Merab really does have staff, then.
Yes, yeah. Then he will fight.
Tired of picking fighters that have staff. Do not pick them.
that's it. Fade the staff. Fade the staff in your beds. And thank you very much, Veronica.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, always good seeing you. Thank you.